Welcome to the Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Series, America's largest off-road racing series for motorcycles and ATVs. Hello everyone, Jason Wygant here from the fields of Ohio. It's the John Penton GNCC brought to you by Wiseco, and the big factor today is Mother Nature. Rain dumped on this course. It's going to be yet another mud race. Almost every race this year has been one of those, which means the favorite has got to be William Yoakley. He won in the mud 2 weeks ago in Tennessee. Can he keep the streak going today on his Yoshimura Suzuki? We're going to find out. We're about to get racing.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Wiseco John Penton GNCC, round number 7 of America Series, the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship. Rain and 80 degrees and very muddy track conditions as we take a look at those Moose Point standings. A deadlock tie right now for first place between Borch and Balance. The big surprise, though, there in 7th place, Adam McGill from that Pro-Am division, rounding out 7th place in the points, and he looks to be a factor, quite possibly in the overall top 5 if he continues to ride like he has been. There's the winner of last week's race, William Yoakley, as he took the win at the Loretta Lynn GNCC. Matt Smiley and Brian Baker conferring before the race, and Chris Borch getting pumped up and ready to go as this John Penton GNCC ready to tackle these soft, muddy Ohio hills. That clay that is very sticky and very slick, going to be quite a bit of a challenge and definitely going to change the face, I believe, of the overall today once this race gets underway. The starting area, not really a true indication as to what the rest of this track is looking like. Some of the riders that might have an opportunity to do well here today, that rider right there, Chris Jinks out of Washington, West Virginia, not too far from where the John Penton GNCC is located. Also Michael Houston, not too bad of a mud rider himself. Matt Smiley been proving himself quite well since taking on that Polaris ride. And of course, he's always been a real strong mud rider. And we'll see if he can prove himself here in the hills of southeastern Ohio. Todd Nippenberg trying to make his mark in this 2005 season. He's been holding steady in near a top 5 overall or top 10 overall position, but not been able to actually finish as strong as what he would like in this 2005 GNCC series. Here's the man that a lot of folks are going to be keeping an eye on today. He's an Ohio native and a mud specialist, or was a few years ago. Johnny has not proven himself so far in this 2005 season. We'll see if home course mud will be in his favor today. Gregg Retriever from Middleburg, Florida, not typically would think would be a great mud rider, but he is a good mud rider, even being from Florida. So look for Greg True to be a force to be contended with here today at the John Penton GNCC. Santo DeRisi, a rider that's, well, had some good years and had some bad years. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself. Hopefully he can take that pressure off and really start putting in the type of results that he is capable of doing. And that is, of course, top 5 and even podium finishes once he gets things squared away upstairs mentally and gets that confidence built up. Brandon Balance, a good look at that number 9 from the Balance Racing team, the younger brother of Bill Balance, our 5-time defending GNCC champion. And there's big brother Bill right there as he is pumped up, charged up, and ready to go himself, it looks like, as we wait for that call. A good look at that pro rider entry list as we have a total of only 18 riders racing in our pro class today, but a total of 32 in that Pro-Am division. And overall totals today out on the race course for this afternoon, Wiseco John Penton GNCC race, 267 ATV riders in the Pro-Am, 4-stroke A, Open A, 2-stroke A and B, the seniors, the vets, the juniors, the 4-stroke B, the Open B, and the sport division. So we've got plenty of racing to go as the kickstarts go down, the green flag is up, and we're off and rolling. It looks like Bill Balance is going to grab that early lead as we make our way into turn number 2 now, and jockeying for position back there in the number 2 spot. That looks like William Yoakley aboard the number 2 machine, and back there in dead last, the Ohio mud specialist himself, Johnny Gallagher, aboard that number 18 machine, getting spun around in that first turn. But up front, it's a battle for the lead already as we head into that first wood section. Bill Balance is feeling the pressure, it looks like, from William Yoakley, the number 2 machine. And also Chris Borch back there trying to work his way up through the pack back in what looks to be about a 5th place position to get things off and rolling here at the Wiseco John Penton GNCC round number 7 of America Series, the 2005 Suzuki GNCC Racing Series. Let's take a look at that FMF Hole Shot Award just to see exactly how Bill Balance got that hole shot. We see the green flag goes up. Those kick starts go down. Looks like a pretty good jump for Yoakley aboard the number 2 machine, but the best line belongs to that number 1 Yamaha as he grabs that inside line, cutting everyone off in turn number 1, sets him up for turn number 2, and about a 3 bike length lead as they charge into that straightaway into turn number 2. Bill Balance obviously controlling the situation early on. Will he be able to hold on to it as he's already under pressure? And we head down to row number 2. This is our Pro-Am division. As we told you, about 32 riders in all in this division, and a lot of riders very capable of finishing top 10, quite possibly even top 5 overall. And they do include riders such as the 39 of Jeffrey Pickens, the 38 of Todd Demery, and even that 66 of Adam McGill from West Union, West Virginia, the Pro-Am rider that is actually 7th place in the point standings heading into the 7th round of racing at the John Penton GNCC. And we can see those 32 riders having a tough way to go, making their way from these sloppy field sections into those, well, muddy wood sections. Our 4-stroke A class off and rolling through the first few turns. Turn number 2 now. As you take a look to the sides of the racetrack there, it looks like our riders are actually grabbing some traction through those first couple of turns, and they are. And the reason for that is because the piles of mud you see pushed to the side of the race course is what the surface of this racetrack looked like only a little while ago before this start. After the morning race start, it really got chewed up very badly. More rain showers fell on that, creating much more of a slick and slimy, greasy mud here in Ohio with that clay. And, of course, so they pushed as much of that off as they could to give these riders traction. But as you can see, as they head into these wood sections, they're not going to be faced with track conditions nearly as nice as what they were through the first 3 or 4 turns here on the start at the John Penton GNCC. And as you can see also, as these riders funnel down into a single file line heading into the wood sections, that we can see some bottlenecks already beginning to develop. And this could pose some threats for our riders throughout the course of the race day. Our lead riders in the pro class not probably going to have too much of a problem on lap number 1, but whenever they head into lap number 2, they're going to see a lot of stragglers, even riders quite possibly from row number 4 here, the Open A division, off and rolling into turn number 1. Now we have a total of 18 riders in this Open A division, and very competitive racers, no doubt about that. Michael Benson there aboard the number 55 machine, Ryan Shockling aboard the number 79, and that number 95 of Anthony Hill, also one to keep an eye on as the race day wears on in this Open A division here at the John Penton GNCC. As you can see, our course workers getting the brunt of that roost out there, and all of the course workers throughout the entire 8 or 10 mile racetrack that we've got laid out here today are probably getting a face full of mud. As we head down to row number 5 now, the 2-stroke A and B and senior division, 2 different classes on this particular row, a total of 22 riders heading through the first couple of turns here. We've got a total of 10 in the 2-stroke A B division. Riders to watch out for here, the number 98 of Joey Margaria, the 105 of Wes Stone, also the 156 of Drew Carl. And that senior division, watch out for Dave Simmons aboard the number 31, the 72 of John Cunningham, and the 84 of John Kenny. All riders very well capable of taking the win in that senior division out there, as row number 5 of 10 is off and rolling. Again, a total of 267 riders going to be tackling the rolling hills of southeastern Ohio, just outside of Athens, Ohio, and of course the famed Ohio University there. But out here in the hills of Ohio, this is where all the action is taking place in Athens County today. And we can see, again, riders getting stuck going into that first wooded section. Only the tale of what is to come here at the John Penton GNCC. I believe we can expect to see a lot of this and a lot of bottlenecks, which is going to switch up and change our lead positions throughout the course of the day. It's going to be utterly amazing how fast the overalls will be changing, as most mud races such as this do definitely play in that favor. Row number 6 off and rolling now. This is the vet class, a total of 23 riders heading into turn number 1 now. Riders to watch out for in the vet class include several different folks, such as, guys like Blaine Schick aboard the number 33, Cale Clarkson aboard the number 44, John Rowling aboard the number 55, actually the number 50, and then the number 60 of Scott Smalley. But don't count out that number 78 of Kenneth Tinchner either, as Tinchner is, always a threat for the overall top 5 in that vet division. A total, again, of 23 riders tackling this first wooded section. And again, they have to funnel down into a single file road there to head through this particular section of the race course. Now, there will be plenty of passing opportunities available for these riders once they get into the wooded sections. It's just getting into this wooded section, as you can see, it's a very narrow opening to make your way into there. But once you get in there, it does open up a little bit, as we'll see in some of our later video as to how this racetrack is shaping up as the day wears on. Row number 7 now, the junior division, off and rolling into turn number 1. A total of 30 riders in all tackling turn number 1. Here on row number 7, Rob Zimmerman out there aboard the number 30, Justin Buss aboard the number 50. One to watch out for, Peter Stadmuller, number 70. And also, don't count out the number 75 of Jim Pinkston, always a threat from ITP. And also the Miley boys from out of Marengo and Waldo, Ohio. Somewhat familiar with the Ohio mud, so keep an eye on the 108 and the 120 as the day progresses here at the John Penton GNCC. Again, row number 7, our junior division, now funneling into turn number 1, 30 riders in all. And you think that 30 riders is a lot to send into this wooded section like this. Wait till we get into the next 2 rows. The 4-stroke B, row number 8, 40 riders in that particular division. Row number 9, the Open B division, we'll be looking at 44 riders. No doubt going to be a couple of minutes between the starts of those particular rows down on the starting line, as it looks like finally row number 7, our junior division, is in the woods. Now we head down to row number 8. This is the 4-stroke B, a total of 40 riders tackling turn number 1 now in this 4-stroke B division. And who are some of the ones to watch out for as we try to get a bird's eye view as to who is actually getting that early lead. Kind of tough to tell on these ATVs, and it's only going to get worse as the day wears on, with, of course, the mud going to be covering up those number plates worse than what they are now, and, of course, making them that much more difficult to see. But riders to watch out for here in this 4-stroke A class, the 47 of Travis Stiles from Marietta, South Carolina, Justin Trevis aboard the 54 from Poland, Ohio, also the 73 of Mark Fulton from Chesterland, Ohio, and don't count out Mark Notman, the number 71 from Hubbard, Ohio. Many, many more in this 4-stroke B division that could be forces to be reckoned with out here, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all shapes up on row number 8. 40 riders slowly making their way into this wooded section so they can begin their assault on the front of the pack. If you got off to a bad start and you're a fast rider, you have definitely got your work cut out for you, but it is not impossible to pass, as we have told you. Just going to be very, very tricky out there, and you're going to have to be picky as to what lines that you're going to be choosing heading through this race course. Tough break there for that number 372. That was Joey Cavillo. He's out of North Providence, Rhode Island, getting stuck in that turn heading into the woods, but we head down to road number 9 now. This is our Open B division. A total of 44 riders in all in this Open B division. Riders to watch out for here. Ryan Leckrone out of New Lexington, just up the road a piece here on a Yamaha number 85. Also from Crooksville, Craig Wilson aboard the number 92. Out of Stowe, Ohio, Richard Lubinsky, one to watch out for. And Scott Spears, the 531 out of Englewood, Ohio. All those riders are from Ohio, but one from Millfield, Ohio. A hometown boy out there aboard the number 800, John Arnold, a Honda rider at 19 years of age, as they make their way into that first wooded section. 44 riders once again tackling these rolling hills of southeastern Ohio. And only one more row to go after this, row number 9. We've got row number 10 to round out our 10 rows of starts here, and a total of 267 riders to be gracing the trails of the John Penton GNCC. Again, row number 9 funneling into the wooded section, and it looks like they're all going to make it, all but one quite possibly, as we try to get a number on that rider. Not going to be able to do that, as he is going to be off and rolling. A little bit of a deficit for him, but not nearly as bad as that rider right there who actually got stuck in that first turn, if memory serves me correct. Out to row number 10 now, our final row. A total of 9 riders in all in our sport division, tackling turn number 1 now. And our sport class riders, this is not one of the more competitive classes as far as the overall is concerned, but these riders that race one another in this sport division definitely have a great time, like the 128 of Jacob Jones, the 160 of Tom Barberwitz, also the 314 Benji Edwards, Ray Tucker aboard the 428, and the 699 of Irene Starling out of Albany, Ohio. Just some of the folks that we'll see out there in that sport class division as they make their way into that first wooded section now. And it appears that all 10 rows are off and rolling. Now, how long they're going to stay rolling, not real sure. As we can see there that they're not moving nearly as quickly, I'm sure, as what they would like to here at the Whites coat John Penton GNCC. And a few more stragglers making their way into the wooded section. Utterly amazing just how fast this racetrack is falling apart here at the Whites coat John Penton GNCC. These riders still trying to make their way into the woods. This number 31 rider, I believe, is going to be the last rider to make his way into the woods. Let's head out near the 1.5 mile marker now. And it appears that the number 1 of Bill Ballots has regained the lead once again. Yoakley in second. It looks like quite possibly that number 3 of Chris Borich has moved up into a number 3 position now. As again, it's really tough to tell as to what these riders' numbers are, even the pro riders, as they make their way by now. And again, this is one of those race days. It doesn't matter whether you came in a factory semi, if you've got factory support, or whether your mom and dad bought everything you've got, or you paid for it yourself. It doesn't matter. You're going to look like the guy that's running the big pro machine out there. The great equalizer is what they call the mud. And that's exactly what we're faced with here at the John Penton GNCC, as we see some of our Pro-Am riders now trying to work their way up and battle with some of those pro riders early on here on lap number 1 at about the 1.5 mile mark of this John Penton Wise Coat GNCC. And of course, with Bill Balance out front, you got to wonder what was going through his mind as he looked at these conditions today, and we had an opportunity to talk with him.
Especially the way the points have worked out. We're halfway through the season, and Chris and I are tied up in the points. So it's time for us to try to get a leg up and try to get a lead in this series. We haven't been out front all season, so we're going to try to get out there today in these nasty conditions, and hopefully luck will be on our side and get a win and walk out of here with the lead for the first time this season. But it's going to be pretty bad out there today. The track's really nasty. It's looking like it might even rain some more now, so it's going to be interesting.
And interesting it is, as Balance has dropped back off to second, and William Yoakley has regained that number 1 spot once again aboard that number 2 machine, as we're out near the 4 mile marker here on lap number 1 now. And as Bill Balance was pointing out, tied in the points heading into this race, it is definitely setting up to be a great race and a very critical race for both Bill Balance, your defending champion, and also Chris Borich, the current contender for the championship here in 2005, as we're in round number 7 of a 13-race series of this 2005 Suzuki GNCC Racing Series. And it is still anybody's ball game as far as that ATV championship is concerned here in the off-road world. Out near the 6 mile marker now here on lap number 1 as we make our way around that much farther. And it looks like quite possibly that William Yoakley has fallen by the wayside and dropped off to a second-place position. I'm not sure, but that might have been Gregg Retriever running in the number 1 spot just out front of Yoakley. And that number 1 machine of Bill Balance running back in the number 3 spot. And still haven't seen the number 3 of Chris Borich make his way by yet here on lap number 1 near this 6 mile marker. So this could spell quite possibly trouble for him and his championship bid as of today's race. Look at how these riders are getting hung up on this hillside. And as we can tell, this is only one of many hills that these riders are going to be having to climb as this race day progresses. And it looks like at the bottom of this hill, at the base of the hill, it is very soupy, very slimy, and creating even more soup and slime as these riders try to make their way up the hills. You can tell one rider stuck, and this is where the bottlenecks come into play, and being able to work your way around these things get really, really difficult, especially when there's not much room to pass up those hills and you don't have much of a run. As you can see, these riders here at the base of the hill are trying to work their way around, and you can hear the machines in the background as they have gone off course just a little bit trying to get around and stuck in other sections of the race course. So it's not only this line that the riders are having problems with, but this entire hillside trying to work their way out of that soupy mud at the bottom of this hill. And finally, One rider makes it out, but we've got a whole slew of other riders, and if this rider can make his way out, it'll be a little bit easier for the next rider. We might see a freight train effect start to work their way up the hill. Another thing that might help a little bit is if one of those other riders behind him would give him a little nudge, maybe give him a little bit of traction. We'll see if that takes place over the course of the next few moments or not, but as you can see, we got a line of riders behind this rider. We also got riders going everywhere on this hillside, trying to make their way up this very slippery, greasy hill at this John Penton Wise Coat GNCC. We're going to keep an eye on this situation for the next few moments just to see how long it takes a rider to get broke free in a situation like this and just exactly how much problems it creates behind them. As you can see, most of the riders now have worked their way by, and it looks like most of the riders will. We've got a new line opening up there, and that rider tries to work his way out of that section as we move just a little further up the race course. And there goes Chris Borch as he is falling back through the pack. I believe that was Chad Duval aboard the number 5 machine there as he just got around that number 3 of Borch, and he's working his way up through the pack right now. And it appears that maybe some of those Pro-Am riders are beginning to close the gap a little bit, as some of the reports from our checkpoints out there are telling us that we might have a Pro-Am rider running in the early lead. Actually, Adam McGill aboard that number 66 is running in a top 10 overall right now. Also, the number 28 of Chris Bithell is running very strong in the top 10 early in lap number 1 of these very muddy conditions. And those riders are going to have to be factored into the overall for the win here today. So we'll be trying to keep an eye on some of these other classes' lap times. And if they are making it up into the top 10, we'll try to point that fact out to you so you know who you're going to be keeping an eye out for and who quite possibly might be able to make their mark in the mud here at the Wiseco John Penton GNCCs. Heading out here on lap number 1, you can see the rain showers continuing to fall here at the Wiseco John Penton GNCC. William Yoakley out front after that win at the Loretta Lynn GNCC in the mud a couple of weeks ago. You got to wonder how stoked he was for this race, and we talked to him earlier.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about today's race. Looking forward to getting out here on this mud. I won here last year, so I do pretty good in the mud. I won a mud race at Loretta Lynn's last week, so I'm pretty confident right now in the mud and in the racing period, and I'm looking forward to that mud race today.
Well, William Yoakley, obviously one of those riders that you need to keep an eye out for on any given day, but it looks like as of late the mud has been his forte as we head up the Yamaha hill climb, one of our Yamaha spectator sections, and we'll get the opportunity to see a lot of different riders making their way up this section of the race courses. It looks like Yoakley has dropped off to the number 2 spot. We'll be able to get that number 1 position down for you quite possibly here in the next little bit, but that actually could have been Matt Smiley, as Matt Smiley is working his way up through the pack right now. Also Chris Jinks working his way up through the pack as we make our way up this Yamaha hill climb, and as you can tell, a very greasy, muddy area of the race course, one that's going to create, I'm sure, quite a bit of an obstacle as this race day wears on. And the biggest part of the obstacle, I believe, is going to come from right there at the base of this hill in that little drainage ditch, that gully, if you will, where those riders have to go through that ditch and then make their way out of that very wet, muddy, soft ditch and then try to get some drive up that long, slick, greasy hill that we call the Yamaha hill climb here at the John Penton GNCC. As we can see, momentum is definitely going to be the key to making your way up this section of the race course. And with the rain showers falling the way that they are right now and the conditions as muddy as they are right now, it's only going to get worse. They stir that mud up and it just gets soupier and soupier and soupier. And overall, for as far as the weight factor is concerned, the more rain that falls, the better off these riders are actually going to be. But as it tacks up and starts to pack up on these machines, it's going to get tougher and tougher for them to make their way around this race course on these machines. The machines are going to begin to overheat. The riders are going to get stuck. They're going to wear themselves out. And it's just going to take its toll on rider and machine throughout the course of the day. As you can see, this rider stuck out there. Some mud fleas making their way off the hillsides there, and it doesn't look like these mud fleas have tackled too much of this nasty terrain as we are still on lap number 1. But look at those guys now and how clean they are. If they continue to play mud flea, they are going to be that much muddier as the day progresses, and we'll see that happen several times throughout this race course, not only here on this Yamaha hill climb, but in any area that a spectator can make it. If there's a rider stuck and he can help them out, you better bet your bottom dollar that they're going to do it. And that's what GNCC Racing is all about. These guys getting out there and you being able to get out with them, and in some instances actually able to help them make their way through some of those more treacherous areas of the race course. And GNCC Racing, if you've never been to one, we encourage you to come on out and check it out, because it is loads of fun, folks. And I'm sure that if you're watching this DVD, there's a good chance that maybe somebody that you know is out there racing in it. And if you've never had the opportunity to go watch them race and see exactly what they do on the weekends, you are definitely missing out. Log on to the World Wide Web at GNCCRacing.com to find out more of our upcoming schedule for 2005 and beyond as we continue here at the Yamaha Hill Climb. And again, more riders making their way up. Couple of riders hung up really tight at the base of this Yamaha Hill Climb, and you got to wonder how they're going to get out of this predicament. There's that mud flea that was so clean only a few moments ago. Look at him now. He's starting to show signs of being out there actually helping these guys out somewhat as they get one out, now working on that second rider. The mud fleas once again becoming a very crucial part of this race. As we can see, one rider, or actually one spectator, bringing a rope out to help these guys out, and it looks like it's not going to be necessary as they got him freed up enough to get the wheel spin going, and he's going to make his way out. A quick salute and a wave to the guys. Thanks a lot, guys. You saved my race day, as he continues his way up this Yamaha Hill Climb. Heading into the pro pits at the end of lap number 1. Now on to lap number 2. We can see that Santa Teresi down getting a new fresh pair of gloves. Greg True also getting a fresh pair of gloves, and it looks like a fresh pair of goggles as well, as he obviously needs that kind of stuff covered from head to toe in mud. Going to take a shot of gas, it looks like, True will, just to make sure that he's got that added extra advantage. Same thing goes for Brandon Bounce. New pair of goggles, new set of gloves, and a splash of gas. You don't know how much gas you're actually using out there on the race courses. You're getting a lot of wheel spin out there, using a lot of RPMs, and actually traveling more miles with the wheels than you're actually going physically. So you're going to use more gas as we take a look at those Suzuki leaders in our Suzuki Leaderboard. Adam McGill from that Pro-Am division. We told you to keep an eye out for those Pro-Am riders. Adam McGill out front, got about a 7-second lead over William Yoakley. Scott Barron only about 3 seconds behind Adam McGill, as those Suzuki Leaderboards really tight right now. Bill Balance back in 4th overall, and Chris Bithell rounding out the top 5. Matt Smiley in 6th, Brent Sturdivant in 7th, Chris Jinks 8th, Brandon Balance in 9th, Jeff Pickens from that Pro-Am division rounds out your top 10. We've got a lot of Pro and Pro-Am riders that are gracing the presence right now of our Suzuki Leaderboard. And as we told you at the beginning of this race, that you could very well expect to see things like this happen just due to simply the racetrack conditions, as muddy as they are. And we saw those riders getting hung up, and the more riders that get hung up, the more opportunities created. Obviously, the more opportunities created for the riders to advance from some of the other classes in the back, and it looks like our Pro-Am division has just done that. Again, McGill out front here at the end of lap number 1. Barron also from the Pro-Am division running in 2nd, and William Yoakley rounding out the top 3 there aboard the number 2 machine. He is your only pro rider right now in the top 3. Bill Balance in 4th overall. Chris Bithell, another 250, or actually another Pro-Am rider, rounding out the top 5. Well, with our lead riders making their way in for their pit stops after that first lap of racing, and, of course, Bill Balance dropping off to 4th place overall, let's stop down and check in with his crew chief, Jimmy Duff, to find out what took place during that pit stop.
We put on a brand new set of Scott goggles, brand new set of Moose gloves. He got the whole shot somewhere out there. William got in front of him. I'm sure the sloppy mud and deep ruts and stuff had ruined his gloves. So we put all that on. The next lap we'll probably stop him and do the same thing plus fuel. So hopefully we end up on the podium before the end of the day.
Jimmy Duff, the Balance Racing team manager, and Bill Balance's crew chief there, of course, telling us what took place in the pit stop. Let's head on down to the Suzuki pits to find out what happened with William Yoakley's pit stop as we talk to his dad, Mike Yoakley.
Well, we always hope for a win, the best we can do. He does pretty good in the mud, and he's got a pretty good start, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe it'll come out okay.
You guys stopped? What happened when he stopped? Did he get goggles?
He needed goggles, yes. The goggles was completely out of roll-offs, yeah. Ready to go.
Tough to be out of roll-offs, no doubt about that, especially on a race day like today here at the John Penton GNCC. And another rider checking in at the pits after that first lap of racing, Chris Borch, as we check in with his father, Joe.
We put gloves, goggles, fuel. We only should have to stop for goggles now.
So you're not going to get fuel again?
No, we should be good for fuel. The only problem we might have is goggles and gloves again, but hopefully he gets his act together and gets rolling.
And I'm sure that he definitely hopes he does that as Chris Borch checks in on lap number 1. Somewhat down, not even in the top 10, believe it or not. So Borch has got his work cut out for him as we take a look at how Borch actually checked in on lap number 1 as far as the pro class is concerned. It looks like that Borch only checked in at a mere 9th place position. Tough break for him. That's 9th place in the pro class. Factor in those Pro-Am riders, and that puts him in about 12th or 13th position in the overall. The rain continues to fall, the mud continues to fly, and of course we head on over now for our Moose Team Spotlight. This week we focus on Andy Lagsdon.
I ride for the Dirt First Duncan team. Our additional sponsors are Roll Design, IMS, and ITP. This season's been going real good for me. It's my best season by far. I've been racing GNCCs for 10 years, pro class. I started back in 1988 running the Blackwater 100. It was my first race. And I've raced 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, and bikes through the years, just tried different stuff, and I've always come back to the 4-wheeler. It's been what I've been able to do the best on. The team consists of me and Brad Page and Mike Kite.
Responsibilities here with this team, just make sure everybody gets their goggles, gloves during the race, help them work on their bikes before the race, during the week, and stuff like that.
All started with one bike. A buddy of mine brought one on the job. I do construction work, and we a 300EX, and I rode it, and I was like, wow, incredible. And so next week I went out and bought one. Then it got stolen, and I got a 400EX, and ever since just been hooked. And then Andy hooks me up now, and we ride together. He dragged me along some.
And that, my friends, is what GNCC Racing is all about. Our Moose Team Spotlight, Dirt First Racing, Andy Lagston's from the pro team there, Michael Kite, an Open A rider. As we head out near the 1.5-mile marker here on lap number 2, and not much of changes going on up front. It looks like Bill Balance may be experiencing some sort of a problem out there as he splashed his way through the water there in that little drainage ditch. And that's where a lot of trouble, I believe, is beginning to bite these riders in the tail on these muddy race courses when they have to go in those low dips. It's really tough to get the drive out of there and keep from splashing up or maybe even hitting a very soft spot and actually sinking to, well, no man's land down there where the bottom is, quite possibly in China. Who knows in some of these soft, soggy areas just how deep that mud can actually get, especially here in Ohio. The battling continues as we head out near the 2-mile marker here on lap number 2, and it looks like Chris Jinks has taken over the lead after our first lap pit stops by our pro riders. And William Yoakley gets out in that number 2 spot aboard the number 2, and it looked to me like that quite possibly Bill Balance had dropped off to about a 4th place position, but we'll just have to wait and see exactly how that one shapes up as this race day does progress here at the John Penton GNCC. More riders checking in. This is some of the pro riders and actually some of our Pro-Am riders getting mixed in with the pro riders all at the same time. As we told you at the end of lap number 1, Adam McGill and Scott Barron were running in the number 1 and 2 positions out there, and that was creating some major havoc as far as the overall was concerned, but we keep a very close eye on that. There goes the number 3 of Chris Borch once again. Looks like he has faded way back, even through the Pro and the Pro-Am divisions. If he intends to keep that points lead or stay at least tied for the points or even somewhere close, he's got to get back up there and race with Bill Balance or hope that Bill Balance also has a bad race day today. And I'm quite sure that Bill Balance is coming into this race very focused, and you know, luck is how you make it, and sometimes being very calculated on days like today can be an advantage. And Bill Balance, a 5-time GNCC champion, knows when to be calculating, and knows when to go for the gusto. And today is one of those days where he's got to calculate each and every move that he makes on this race course. Heading out near the 4-mile mark now, and it appears that Yoakley has regained the lead once more away from that number 7 of Chris Jinks. As we check back a little bit further into our pack of riders, Matt Smiley still trying to hold steadily there in one of those top 5 positions. Actually running in 3rd place in the pro class when it was all said and done. In the overall, he had dropped to about a 6th place position, but nonetheless, 3rd place in the pro division, and looks like he is still holding steadily onto one of those positions right now as he tries to make his way through these very slick hills of southeastern Ohio. Near the 6-mile marker now, and carnage off to the side of the race course. You can see some riders getting up on that berm, trying any and every way they can maybe to pass another rider out on this race course, and actually sliding over the embankment. And that's what has happened. As we can see, we saw this section of the race course a lap ago from a different perspective, a little bit further up about where we're at right now, and we saw how soupy, muddy, and sloppy it was. As you can tell, it's gotten even worse here on lap number 2, and the bikes are strewn all the way across this hillside. Make it up if you can, any way you can. And the water continues to get deeper as these riders make their way through this section of the race course. They spin out that much more, make that section, that water hole, that much deeper, make the opportunity to make your way up onto the bank and up that hill that much more difficult. But as you can see, if you can just find that one little dry line that may not be dry when you make your way through it or after you make your way through it, you can find that one bit of traction, you can make your way up this very nasty, sloppy, muddy section of this race course at the Wise Coach John Penton GNCC. And race fans getting a face full of it there. And of course, we were talking about Matt Smiley there a few moments ago. Looks like he's moved up into the number 3 spot, and we talked with him earlier today before the race.
It's going to be a little bit of a mess today. Probably going to run into some bottlenecks. Just going to have to use your head today, ride smart, try and keep in touch with the leaders, and be there at the end. Just don't make any stupid mistakes. Keep yourself from getting stuck, and hopefully at the end it'll be out front.
With the riders ahead of these other riders out there, it appears that it'll be very difficult to not make any mistakes out there. You got to hope the guy in front of you doesn't make a mistake, and that you can key off of any mistakes that he makes and get around him. And you got to be very watchful of your lines. And as we were talking about Bill Balance there a few moments ago, you got to be very, very calculated. Well, reports are that we've got a new leader, and that the number 18 of Johnny Gallagher has been working his way up through the pack, and it looks like he has done just that. Yoakley has dropped off to the number 2 spot now. Chris Jinks up to 3rd place aboard that number 7 Mickey Dunlap 4-stroke tech machine. Bill Balance holding on to a 4th place physical position on the race course. This is physical position, not the actual overall adjusted time. So when they make their way around here in just a few moments for the completion of lap number 2, and they'll be seeing that white flag all at the same time, we'll have an opportunity to see just exactly how it's breaking down. There's Matt Smiley rounding out your top 5 physically overall on the race course, but overall time adjusted, not real sure. There's Chris Bortz trying to inch his way up through the pack now. He had dropped off as far as an 8th place position. Chad Duval working his way up through the pack right now, been kind of yo-yoing his way through the top 10 right now, back in about a 9th place position. It looks like Chris Bortz is having a little rougher day today than what a lot of folks anticipated. I'm sure even him, as we had an opportunity to talk with Chris before the race today and how he felt about what conditions were like.
Today it's going to be probably a little muddy. It's just going to be a smart race. Just going to have to pick good lines. I know we're tied with points battle right now, so hopefully I can just get a good hole shot and stay out front.
Hey, he didn't get too great of a hole shot, and he's not staying out front, so Chris Bortz has got to work his way back up. Lap number 2 now as we near the 10-mile marker, and also the conclusion of this second lap of racing. We'll be seeing a white flag coming out for our leaders here in just a few moments, and again, it appears that our Pro-Am riders seem to be running some very strong lap times and still running a very strong top 5 in the overall, according to our checkpoints. and our updates from out on the race course. So we're going to have to wait a few moments to find out for sure just exactly how lap number 2 is breaking down. And, of course, we're also getting reports right now that Chris Borich is in the pits. It looks like Borich may be having some overheating problems as we head down now to the pit area. Chris Borich into the pits for an unscheduled pit stop, and also it looks like coming in the long way around. So that rider overheating. It looks like the mud is definitely packed into that machine. That could be the obvious cause as to why the machine is overheating. They're water-cooled, and even more water-cooled right now as the crew is trying to douse that machine down, I think, to get the mud off and to cool it down a little bit at the same time. But they're just trying to find a way to get into that radiator right now, as it looks like maybe the radiator has boiled over from the excessive heat, not being able to breathe from all that mud clogging the pores of the radiators. They continue to work on the situation down here in the pits. You know that Chris Borich has got to have that sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach right now, coming into this race tied in points, but losing more and more as each second ticks by. But the important thing for Chris to hold on to and to remember is that the ATVs do have 2 throwaways, and this could be one of his throwaways on the race year. And with that in consideration, even with having a bad finish today, no matter how Bill Balance finishes, it should keep things somewhat tight in the points race. Well, we've seen what took place. Let's go down and talk to Joe Borch to find out what was going on.
Came in overheating. We filled them up with antifreeze and tried to wash the rider out the best we could. Goggled, gloved them. Try to keep him so he can finish the race at least.
He'll make it through it?
I don't know. I don't know where the antifreeze was coming from. It was just overheating and bubbling over, or what it was.
Well, just exactly what we expected that to be, overheating and due to the mud clogging up that radiator. As we end lap number 2, we take a look now at that Suzuki Leaderboard, and it looks like Adam McGill from that Pro-Am division still holds on to the number 1 spot. Scott Barron running in second. Johnny Gallagher up to the number 3 position. In 4th place, it was William Yoakley. 5th spot, Chris Jinks. Bithell in 6th. Smiley 7th. Balance 8th. Frank Kendall in 9th place. Gregg Retriever rounding out the top 10 there by Suzuki Leaderboard, and several Pro-Am riders making their way into the overall top 10 as we, again, try to jockey for position through this mulch field as these riders head toward the finish line. And with the last lap of racing at hand now, let's head on down and check in with Jason Wygant.
All right, just past the halfway point. We thought it would be crazy. We didn't think it would be this crazy. 2 Pro-Am riders, Adam McGill, Scott Barron, are battling for the overall lead and the win. And Johnny Gallagher, the privateer upstart from Ohio, is 3rd. The favorites are back in the pack. It is a treacherous racetrack out there. We can barely keep track of what's what, but we're going to try. Stay with us.
All righty, thanks a lot, Jason Wygant, as we are on lap number 3 of 4 now, out near the 1.5 mile marker. And as we had told you, at the end of lap number 2, McGill still on top, Scott Barron running in second. Gallagher, the number 18 rider, the mud rider specialist from Ohio, whom, has been deemed that for many, many years, but hasn't showed himself to be that over the course of this 2005 season, at least until Loretta's a couple of weeks ago when he finished very strong down there and actually had the lead position for a while. Actually leading the pro class right now aboard that number 18 machine. He's out ahead of guys like, of course, Bill Balance and Chris Borich and William Yoakley and those guys, but still running a 3rd place overall position here at the John Penton GNCC. Out near the 2 mile marker now here on lap number 3, and more riders checking through this ITP section of the race course. And again, the racetrack has done nothing but break down throughout the course of the race day. It's not tacked up any, but it has tacked up enough and stayed just dry enough to build up underneath the base of these quads and the fenders and on the tires to create traction and traveling problems for these riders. But again, it stayed slick enough and slippery enough to be very, very challenging as the race day has progressed. These riders, these ATV riders, have definitely had the worst thrown at them, and you got to say that they have risen to the occasion to be able to tackle the situations that they have thrown at them. Picking the action back up near the 6 mile marker now, and it looks like Bill Balance has gotten around Johnny Gallagher to take that overall lead in these very muddy conditions. And you know, folks, you wonder sometimes, what about muddy conditions? How do I prepare myself? Well, that's the focus of this week's Suzuki Pro Rider Tip of the Week. William Yoakley in our Pro Rider Tip of the Week. And you know, we've tackled about every obstacle that's going to be thrown at you on a GNCC racing trail. One thing that we haven't talked about is how to prepare yourself for the mud. And William Yoakley, how do you prepare yourself for a trail ride in the mud or a race in the mud?
Well, first off, you have to have your machine prepped for these conditions, and one of the things I really make sure I do is I make sure I have my air box sealed off really well so no water goes in my air filter, and I try to seal up all my electrical components and my carburetor as well, and make sure everything's lubed really good, especially the fenders and stuff, to keep the weight down on the machine so your suspension keeps working properly, and make sure I have plenty of goggles and gloves or anything like that in the pits so when you come in you don't waste any more time than you have to. And usually I go out there and just have a calm race, and it usually all comes together pretty good.
And that's your Suzuki Pro Rider Tip of the Week. And, of course, we head out to the Yamaha hill climb now as we make our way up this very nasty section of the race course, which, to me, looks like it may be getting a little better as this race day progresses. The rain showers have stopped, and it looks like it has tacked up just enough to grab traction for these riders up the side of this hill on this Yamaha hill climb. So a saving grace there. The rain has stopped, and it is beginning to tack up in this hill section. But I believe still out in the woods, you're still going to find lots and lots of soupy, slimy, slick Ohio clay that we call the mud here in Ohio. Yamaha hill climb continuing to make their way up this section, but again, looks like they're doing it much easier this time around. Well, it looks like Chris Bortz making his way up this Yamaha hill climb now, has gotten back out and looks like rectified those overheating problems, but still has several minutes of time lost out there that is going to cost him in the end. Out near the 8-mile marker now as we try to pick up with some of these leaders. Once again, Bill Balance has taken over the physical leader, at least for a few moments. Not real sure exactly how it's all breaking down for them now. Johnny Gallagher, again, a mud specialist, could be a force to be reckoned with, and don't count him out as of yet, as we've still got a long road to hoe with a little over a lap plus left of racing here at the John Penton GNCC. And it looks like some of our lead riders making their way up now. I'm not sure if that's Johnny Gallagher or Bill Balance, but I believe that this is our pro class making their way through now, and that's Gallagher's reclaimed the lead out there, as we also see William Yoakley making his way through this section of the race course. And it looks like Balance maybe have dropped off to a third-place position as we close out lap number 3. Looks like also Matt Smiley trying to be a contender up there in that top 5 as well. You're watching GNCC Racing on GNCC DVD. The race, the Wiseco John Penton GNCC in Millfield, Ohio, just outside of Athens, Ohio, in the heart of Athens County. And, of course, I'm Rodney Tomlin along with you, bringing you the play-by-play. Our pit reporter, Jason Wygant, giving you some updates out on the race course and interviews being handled this week by Ms. Rachel Ayers, all a part of GNCC DVD. And don't forget to tune in to Outdoor Life Network and watch more GNCC Racing on TV. And be sure and check out the World Wide Web at GNCCRacing.com to find out where our next GNCC races are going to be taking place. Out near the 10-mile mark now here on lap number 3 as we wrap up this third of 4 laps of racing at this Wiseco John Penton GNCC. As you can tell, rain beginning to fall once again in this lap, creating slick conditions, and the tacky spots that were starting to show their face only a half a lap or so ago are beginning to become more and more treacherous for these riders. As you can see, riders taking the long way around to try to get up out of that slick clay that is packed down so tight and so hard, making it difficult for these riders to make their way up these sections of the race course. Wondering how our overall is doing? Well, we're going to find out in just a few moments. We actually got a report there a few moments ago that Adam McGill had taken over the physical, not only the time-adjusted lead, but the physical lead. Not sure exactly how Scott Barron is doing back there, but McGill out front physically on this third lap of racing. Whether or not he'll be able to hold that spot or not, that question remains to be answered, and we'll find out more about that coming up here in only a few more moments as we wrap up lap number 3 now. We see the white flag coming out, and of course that gives us an indication that the leaders are making their way through, though we cannot really tell who is who with the way the mud is packing on each one of these riders out there. And it looks like as they make their way down through the pro pits, none of those riders were the actual pro riders, but we'll be able to start sorting things out here in just a few moments as Adam McGill making his way in to the finish line region and the finish line checkpoint, and now we can sort it all out. How's things breaking down in our Suzuki Leaderboard? McGill still out front after 3 laps complete. Yoakley in second. Balance drops off to third. Johnny Gallagher in the number 4 spot, and looks like quite possibly Brandon Sturdivant has moved into a 6th place position out there. Chad Duval in the number 5 spot, so good to see that Chad Duval is working his way up through the overall right now. Also, Brian Binkley from the Pro-Am division, and Jeffrey Venzel also from that Pro-Am division, shaking up the overall top 10 here at the John Penton GNCC. Let's head down to Jason Wygant and get a report on this last lap.
All right, the rain continues here in the last lap, and so does the battle for the lead. William Yoakley has taken the spot back physically on the track. He's still 22 seconds, though, behind Adam McGill, the Pro-Am rider, who continues to lead this race. Everybody else, we have no idea. They're covered in mud. We're going to try to sort it. The checkered flag is on its way out.
Thanks a lot, Jason Wygant, and 22 seconds is quite a bit of time, especially on race days like today. Unless something happens to Adam McGill like that rider right there, it sounds like he sucked in quite a bit of water, and it's going to take him a while to dry that machine out and get it back to running smoothly. May not even be able to complete this final lap of racing, but only time will tell that story. Looks like Balance making his way by there a moment ago as he appears to be by himself. And again, he running in that number 3 spot. Gallagher in 4, Chad Duval in 5th spot. Good to see Chad riding so well. Not too far away from home for Chad Duval also, as he races over here quite a bit in the Ohio region, District 11 region, out of Williamstown, West Virginia. Heading out near the 2-mile marker here on lap number 4, our final lap of racing. And William Yoakley has taken over the physical lead away from Adam McGill, but he's got 22 more seconds to make up, as Jason Wygant had pointed out only a few moments ago. And right now, according to our timekeepers, some folks, some spotters out on the race trail, they're telling us right now that William Yoakley is beginning to reel in. It was a 22-second deficit. Now at the 2-mile marker, it appears that we've dropped down to about 18 seconds, so William Yoakley has shaved off about 4 seconds of time, and that is very crucial in this last lap of racing. 4 seconds will add up as the day wears on, and you got to wonder if Adam McGill is, well, realizing that he is actually in the lead or not, and what his pit crew is telling him, if they realize it and enough to tell him that he is in the lead, about whether or not he should go for it or take his time, be easier on this last lap of racing. And if they do tell him he's in the lead, you got to wonder if that's going to shake him up also. If he knows, is it going to force him into a mistake? We're going to find out in only a few short minutes as the racing action continues here on lap number 4 at this John Penton GNCC. As we head out near the 4-mile marker now, and again, lap traffic playing a big role in today's racing adventure. As we see now, it looks like Yoakley out front of Balance, as we've seen the wheel-to-wheel battle shaping up between those two riders, as we got only a glimpse of those lead riders at that 4-mile marker. But it looks like, again, that Bill Balance has closed in the gap on William Yoakley, and we may have ourselves a battle shaping up for the overall second-place position or the overall win, depending on whether or not they're able to make up that necessary time on Adam McGill's time in order to take the overall win. Again, race days like today can create situations like this. We warned you folks ahead of time. We thought the possibility was there, and lo and behold, it all comes to pass just as we had expected. And anytime that you go out to a GNCC race, that's the cool thing about it. Anything's possible, and anything can happen. And like that right there, that rider just about goes over the handlebars. That's good enough for a Yamaha replay. Let's go back and take a look at it as he gets a little bit too much bounce coming off those rear wheels and nearly goes over the handlebars, but grabs just enough control there at the very end of that near get-off to straighten it up, head through that turn, and get back into the racing action. Closing in on the finish line region near this 10-mile mark on lap number 4. This hill looks a little more doable this time around as the rain has stopped over the course of the last lap of racing. It has tacked up a little bit, giving that rider there some traction and an opportunity to make his way to the top of the hill and work his way to the finish line region in hopes of a good score after it's all said and done, and he is just ahead of the leader, so he will get another lap under his belt. But some of these other riders that are having trouble here toward the end of the race course, you got to wonder whether or not the lead riders will close that gap and maybe put them a lap down. And I'm sure that probably will not hurt their feelings a whole lot if they go a lap down, because some of these riders are just probably out for the roughest, most rugged race trip that they've ever taken here at this John Penton GNCC. And the only thing I got to say does not compare to the Spartan GNCC in 2004, but nonetheless, it definitely offers up many of the same great challenges that huge mud race did down in Kentucky only about a year ago. Well, the hammer is down, and we're headed for home at the finish line region now, as Bill Balance now takes the overall physical lead on the race course. Time adjusted, not real sure as the checkers come out. We're going to have to wait a few moments here to find out whether or not Bill Balance actually takes the win overall, as Adam McGill had led on time adjustments through the first 3 laps of racing. Balance had plus 22 seconds to make up as he got around William Yoakley there on that lap, and it appears that it looks like that McGill has made his way in, and he is going to be only a couple of seconds short, so Bill Balance will get the overall win here. Let's head on down to the finish line and get a word with the champ.
I was out there. We was just trying to survive. I knew that I seen William a couple of times, and Matt was there occasionally, but other than that, we didn't have a clue what was going on. We were just trying to keep it going forward.
The winner, Bill Balance, but that man right there nearly stealing the show from that Pro-Am division, 17-year-old rider, number 66, Adam McGill from West Virginia. And believe it or not, this young man, this has got to be the biggest day of his racing career. West Union, West Virginia is what he calls home. He's not unfamiliar with this Ohio mud. It might explain just exactly why he did as well as he did here today. But regardless of what the reason is, he did a great job, and he opened up a lot of eyes as we take a look at that Suzuki winners board. Balance on top of McGill in second. Yoakley holds on for third. That puts him second in the pro class, third overall. Bithell in fourth, second in the Pro-Am division. Chad Duval, fifth overall, third in the pro class. Gallagher in sixth overall. Litterini in seventh. Westmoreland eighth. Venzel in ninth. And Anthony Hill rounds out the top 10 when it's all said and done. And a lot of Pro-Am riders making their mark and staking their claim in the mud here in Ohio. As we head on over to the podium now and take a good look at the champ there, the 5-time and defending GNCC champ. That's his daughter you see there on the quad, giving him the thumbs up and a big smile from Dad, as he is extremely happy right now to have the points lead for the first time in his 2005 points chase. William Yoakley getting third overall. Let's head on down to the podium and talk to our champions.
Days you've seen all year, did you even know where you were on the track?
No, I had no clue. Well, when I come around the last lap, I seen that I was in first, and so I was like, and so anyway, I was having a good time out there. I was in first, but I got over there, got stuck in a rut, and I just blew it, so I was kind of bummed out about that. But, you know, anyway, it come through. My bike done awesome. Yoshimura Suzuki motor done great, and ATV tires pulled me through good, and it's just an awesome day, and my family just helped me get here once again, and I just couldn't do it without all the great people that's helped me, and you know, just a good day. I'm happy, and Bill's going to pay for that.
And Adam McGill, you were in the lead in this race. Did you expect that coming in?
No, I didn't expect to get in the lead, but I mean, anything can happen in the mud, so I just dug deep and kept plugging away and finally caught the pros.
Did you know where you were? Was your crew able to tell you were leading this thing overall?
Yeah, the third lap, I stopped and was going to get gas, and my dad told me, he's like, go, 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 you're actually leading the race. So I said, okay, and I took off, and I started running out of gas back here on one of the long straightaways. I stopped by Stephanie Parton's pits. She gave me some race fuel, and I took off, and luckily it was just enough to get me through to the podium.
So is that last splash of gas, is that what cost you some time, or did you get stuck somewhere on the last couple of laps?
I think the gas had a lot to do with it before, but I mean, you never can tell in the mud. You know, I might have lost some time getting slowed down here in this rut or getting behind this lapper or something. But lappers were bad. There was bottlenecks everywhere, and I just got behind Bill and just followed him and just hoped he knew how to get through it.
How good does it feel to be up here?
Oh, it's awesome. I'm tickled to death. I've never expected anything like this in my life. I wanted to get up here, but I never thought it'd actually come true. So it's awesome. Love it.
It's a big day for you. You got something else coming up tonight, right?
Yeah, I got to go to prom. Yeah, so she's waiting on me at the house right now. So I called her, told her I'll be a little bit late, but I hope she can understand. I mean, it's a pretty big deal for me.
And you're a little muddy too. You gonna be able to clean up?
I don't know. I might have to jump in that pond down there, clean up real quick.
All right.
Well, I think that we're going to see a lot more of that rider right there, the number 66 of Adam Kurt McGill out of West Union, West Virginia, just 17 years of age. He's 10 years younger than Bill Balance. He's got plenty of opportunity to win championships in the future, and I believe we're going to see that happen for that young man. And that's what GNCC Racing is all about. We bring him up through the ranks. We grow him up right, I guess you could say, as we wrap things up here, taking a look at that Moose Point standing. Looks like Bill Balance on top of the points for the first time in this 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series. Chris Bortz back in second. Third, William Yoakley fourth, is none other than Matt Smiling in the number 5 spot. Adam McGill, who moves up from 7th place in the points, in the number 6 spot of our points. It looks like that's going to be Chris Jinks. Brandon Balance in 7th. Andy Lagston's will be in that number 8 spot of our Moose Point standings. 9th place, Brian Baker. And rounding out the top 10, Jeremy Rice. And that's your Moose Point standings. And that'll do it here from the Wisecoat John Penton GNCC. The GNCC Series is produced by Gear Media and Marketing for Racer Productions. Copyright 2005. On behalf of Jason Wygant, Rachel Ayers, and the entire crew, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day.
The Grand National Cross Country Championship is sanctioned by the American Motorcyclist Association. Rights, Riding, Racing. AMA. Join now. Call 1-800-8